Thank you, everybody, for joining. I appreciate the time you're going to take to listen to me discuss our brand new Generation 2 Phase EV commercial charger. So I'm going to jump right into the first slide, which is essentially a little bit of a walk around on the benefits and features essentially of this second generation charger. So I'm just going to go through each one of these individually and get a little bit more detail for you. I'm going to start up on the top right-hand side, so we'll call it 1 o'clock. This new charger has a very large, bright LED uh, light that circles basically half the front of the face of the charger. Uh, and the reason that is so large and bright is it really gives the people that come into the parking lot a really good idea of when that is green, it is available. And so it also gives it a kind of a bright look to the call attention to the product while it's in the parking lot. Uh, One of my favorite features of this new product is the 4.3-inch color LCD touchscreen. So it's full color and it is a touchscreen. And what that touchscreen enables us to do is to have three different languages in one product. So the screen can be displayed in English, French, or Spanish. And I'll show you a little bit more detail on that in a few slides. All of the products come standard with RFID access. So that means the scan session or the charge session can start by simply using an RFID card to start the scan. All of these have standard Wi-Fi and Ethernet connectivity. So when we need to connect to a CPO through the internet, you can do that with Wi-Fi or Ethernet. And we also have 4G and ISO 15118, which are optional features for the product. And again, I'll give a little more detail of that in a second. All of the products right out of the box have that QR code, which you see directly in the middle, very, very large and easy to spot. And that is to start a charge session with the CPO, where you just scan the app. Your app scans that QR code and starts the charge. These products today are 48 amps, but when they are being installed, there's a dial inside where they can be set to 8 all the way up, from 8 all the way up to 48 amps in 8 amp increments. So that if you have an installation where you have less than a 60 amp circuit powering one of these, you can just choke back that amperage and use a smaller amount of current to feed the charger. On the right-hand side in orange, I show there that we have an 80 amp version of this coming in the summer of 25. So expect to have that in June, July timeframe to be available. It will have all of these features that I'm discussing now, but in addition, it will go all the way up to that 80 amps, which will give you significantly more power. So the cable on this is 25 feet long. And it uses a J1772 Type 1 connector. So that is still the majority of vehicles in the United States that are not Tesla utilize that J1772 Type 1 connector. There is a commitment from many of the manufacturers of EVs in the US to start to transition their production to utilize that Tesla-style NACS or NACS connector in the vehicle. And we will also transition and start to add that NACS charge gun on this product as that becomes more as the NACS connector becomes more commonplace in the vehicles manufactured in the United States. So I'll get into the wiring in a second, but the internal wiring is extremely easy to do, and it uses very secure terminal connections. So, and I'll talk about that in a second. And then another important feature is that the wiring can be done through the bottom of this charger or through the back. And the benefit of being wired from the back essentially is that those input wires are hidden and essentially are not cannot be accessed from somebody that wants to tamper with the products, because if the product is on a wall or on a pedestal, the wiring comes in the back and it's not accessible. These are NEMA 4, IP65, and IK08, which basically means they're very rugged and also can be used indoor and outdoor. So there's no issue as far as the weather is concerned. And they also, speaking of the weather, are rated all the way down to negative 40 degrees C. So in very cold temperatures, particularly up north, these things are rated to go to that negative 40 C up to 50 degrees C operating temperature. And for situations where these are installed and they are used to generate revenue, there is an embedded metering and there's a plus or minus 1% accuracy real-time clock. And again, these are level two, so 208 to 240 volt level two, and that 48 amp input. So I'm going to go to the next page and talk a little bit more detail on the options that are available for this product. So we offer it in many different configurations, and the reason for that is to meet the customer requirements. So depending on where this product is being installed, and it depends on what the customer wants to use the product for, we have a configuration of the charger that should meet it, basically any of those options that are required by that customer. So the base model on the far left-hand side comes standard with the Ethernet, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and RFID access, which I kind of talked about a bit on that walk around. At the same time, the charger can also be used for plug and charge operations. So while the product is being installed or anytime after that, we can get into the configuration manager and set this product up for plug and charge applications. And that means essentially when it's in a plug and charge mode, whenever a user comes up and plugs their vehicle into the charger will begin to dispense the energy to charge the car without the use of a CPO, and without in that particular case, the energy is free. So we're not charging for that particular charge. There's also ways to use RFID access, so it's not completely open. It's free to charge, but you can only start the charge with people that have been issued RFID cards that have been tied to the charger. So that's the basic product. That it can be used for a CPO. If you want to, you can connect via the Ethernet, so hardwire it, or Wi-Fi, connect to the internet and use as a CPO. So that would be if you wanted to generate income using the product, or you can be plug and charge. The next option up would be to add a 4G network connection into the charger, and that would be for the same reason. You want to connect to a charge point operator, and the charger is installed someplace that doesn't have a Wi-Fi signal, or the product was not installed with a 4G cable that ran out to the product. So there is that 4G option, which gives you much more flexibility as far as where the installation is concerned. We can also add an ISO 15118 module into the product, and the 15118 module is it's an open protocol where the vehicle connects to the charger via the communication through the ISO module in both the car and in the charger, and that basically will start the charge. So when a vehicle has an ISO 15118 module in it, it will connect to this charger. Then the two of them will speak essentially over the internet and get to the CPO. The CPO recognizes the car and the charge starts. So in that particular case, you don't need to scan an app. You don't need to tap and charge. You don't need to do any basic. The end user doesn't need to interact with the charger itself in any way. The car does all of the communication back and forth. It's important to note that there aren't very many vehicles today that incorporate that ISO 15118 capability into it, but it will become more and more common as the EV market grows. So the next block over is we can add either or, so the 4G option or the ISO option or both. And then finally, we can add a NIAX credit card reader, which is a tap and charge. So the module would be inside the product, so it is completely impervious to the weather. But any user can come up and just tap their credit card It connects to the CPO. The CPO starts the charge utilizing the credit card information that was transmitted during that tap and charge. So that capability is exceptionally easy for the end user. So the person that wants to charge their car doesn't have to download an app. They don't have to worry about what the CPO is that is connected to that particular charger. They can just tap and charge and go. It's the similar way you would buy anything in just about any retail environment today, where you just at the end you tap your credit card and the transaction goes through. This the requirements in California for using credit cards were changed in November of 2023, and this new tap and charge option that we have meets the California requirements. So this can be sold in California using that tap and charge. So when you combine all of those features, the 4G option, the ISO 15118 option, and that tap and charge credit card option, any and all of those, you can see that we have the capability to meet the requirements of either a jurisdiction or a customer by just basically adding or deleting the features and coming up with a product that is the cost effective for each one of those customer requirements. As far as mounting is concerned, we have the product itself out of the box. It comes with everything it's required to mount to a wall, and that means it can be mounted as you see in the left-hand side. It can be mounted from the bottom on that wall, or it can be mounted straight through the wall into the back of the fixture, as I talked about in the first slide. We also have pedestal options, and that you can see the wide variety of options, either a single charger on a single pedestal, back to back on the pedestal, side by side on the pedestal. And in each one of those configurations, we can also add that cable management system, which is a great job of keeping the cables off the ground and keeping them away from keeping them out of harm's way, particularly if when the cars are driving around, if the cable happens to be in the way, it could get run over by the car. So that cable management system does a great job of keeping the cables up and safe. So this is just a very quick slide just talking about the installation itself. The product is manufactured, all of the external screws are tamper-proof screws, and the charger comes with the correct bit to remove all those tamper-proof screws. So there is one in the bottom back plate. We remove the tamper-proof screw, and the plate comes off the back of the charger. You mount that plate either to a wall or to a pedestal, and then you just hang the charger back on the plate and reinsert that tamper-proof screw, and now you've mounted the product. So the next step, it's as easy as that as far as mounting, and then you just get into the process of wiring. The front cover of that charger comes off again using those tamper-proof screws and using the same wrench that comes with the unit. You can remove the front cover. Under the front cover is a waterproof chamber. Remove that cover, and you can see on the far right-hand side there, it's kind of the blow up of the inside. You simply bring the input wire on the left-hand side up through the bottom or through the back. And then the L1, L2 ground, those are very secure mounting for the wires. And then it comes with an input cable clamp, which you would then clamp down over the wire, which really secures it so it doesn't have any issue about becoming loose or basically making a bad ground into that the input terminal block. So very easy to mount, very easy to wire. And again, it can come either from the bottom or the back when we're doing the wiring. So I talked on the first slide about the full color screen, and this slide just kind of goes through that quickly. The top left-hand side shows the home screen. So when a user approaches the product or the charger, you can see it says, "Please plug in vehicle," and then you have the language and the price. So if they hit the price, it'll give whatever the end user has chosen to charge for the product for the energy. And if they hit the language button on the top, it brings up the screen in the middle top, which says English, Spanish, and French. If you tap, for example, I tapped French in this particular situation, and the home screen comes back, and all of the wording on that screen now turns to French. And every subsequent screen is also in French, and that charger will remain in that language even when the session is over until somebody changes the language. So when it's changed to either English, Spanish, or French, it'll stay in that language until the next user that wants to change it does so. So during the charging session on the bottom right-hand side, left-hand side, I'm sorry, when the charger is plugged in and underway, it gives you real-time data as far as how long the session has been, how much energy has been dispensed, and what the cost is of the session that far. In the center, at the end of a session, when the vehicle is either done or the end user disconnects the vehicle by pressing the button and pulling the charge gun out, it says the charge is paused by vehicle, and it gives you the summary of all of what happened so far. And then once that charge session is complete by completely removing the charge gun, it gives you all the transaction details. And those transaction details in the case where we're using a CPO, those will match that transaction ID, the energy cost, et cetera, will all match the information that is transmitted back to the user from that CPO. So that's and there are far more screens during the session that are accessed, and again, in any language that it's programmed. So going to the next slide, we talked about, or at least touched upon, the ChargePoint operator software. So in any situation where the end user, the owner, wants to generate income from the charger, a ChargePoint operator software program is required. If the end user does not want to generate income using the charger, then they simply set the product up as a plug and charge unit, and it will dispense energy as soon as a vehicle is plugged in. Or again, you can limit the number of people that use it using RFID cards, and that would be a situation where you've got a multifamily home where there's several owners, but they don't want to be charging a fee to charge, or for example, a bus depot or a FedEx lot, a fleet management. All of those situations where you wouldn't want to charge for the product, then you don't require a CPO. But in any situation where you need to have we'll call it a bank in between, the CPO acts as that bank. And so we need to have that ChargePoint operator software in order to generate revenue using the equipment. So in our case, as I said, we can set it up as a plug and charge, but the charger to generate income has to be connected. And in our case, it's ChargeLab is the CPO that we utilize as our ChargePoint operator. The product comes already pointed to the ChargePoint operator URL, or to the ChargeLab URL. So it's ready to go as far as that communication is concerned. The end user does need to sign up with ChargeLab prior to having the product connect to them. So that is all very well explained in all of the literature that comes with the product. And it also is, if the installer doesn't look at that information, the front QR code that I mentioned earlier, if the charger is not set up with ChargeLab yet, as soon as the owner scans that QR code, it will take them to all of the information online to sign up and get that subscription going and getting the charger ready to go. The plans for the ChargeLab software start in the US at $25 a month, and they are $30 a month Canadian. And all of that information, again, is available through the scanning the QR codes, or that information is included in each one of the packages. So what does the software do? You can see some of the home screens that are in here. Once you are signed up with Charge Lab, the owner or the site manager has access to a portal that has just a enormous amount of information on that charger, how it's set up, et cetera. And they within that software, they can have their own administration tools and reports. They can control and monitor each one of those chargers to do what it is what they want. The Charge Lab software manages the end user billing. So when somebody taps to charge or scans to charge, that that user, all of that transaction, all that banking, if you will, takes place through Charge Lab. And the owner itself, through this software program, is able to set time of use pricing, so they can set up the amount of charge per hour, or they can set it up for kilowatt hour. They can set it up to change during the peak times. Provide idle time fees. They can provide connect fee, for example, if they want to charge $1 just to connect. All of that gets set up through the Charge Lab software. And this is just a quick slide that shows all of, I didn't even get into, I just scratched the surface of the things that the Charge Lab software will do. So this is just a little bit more information on all of those. Another important part of the Charge Lab software would be in a situation where there are multiple chargers in one installation, but there's a limited amount of current that is available to use by all those chargers. Then there is load shed capabilities within the Charge Lab software, so you can make sure that the chargers themselves do not exceed the capacity of that site. And in addition to all of the owner capabilities, the Charge Lab software also comes, each of the EV owners or EV users can download the Charge Lab software. And if they don't, once this charger is up and operational, if somebody pulls up to utilize this charger and they don't happen to have that Charge Lab software already on their phone, when they go to scan that QR code in the front, it'll take them to the site to download their software and start the charge session. But in cases where there is the ISO 15118 module in the vehicle and in the charger, then there's no need to have this Charge Lab software. And in addition, if there's no need for the EV driver to have the Charge Lab software, and also the tap and charge, so that the EV driver doesn't need to use the Charge Lab app to tap and charge if there's a NIAX module included into the product. So that's the overall view of the product. And I think I see one question up here. Um, and the question is, can the Gen 1 charges be reprogrammed to run with Charge Lab instead of AmpUp? Um, that possibility exists, but the possibility also exists that these in a case where you want to install one of these chargers where the user already is set up with AmpUp, we can reconfigure these chargers, the Gen 2 chargers, to point to the AmpUp software, so that site manager doesn't have to switch CPOs. So we do use the OCPP, Open Charge Point Protocol, internal to these chargers. So we have tested the charger with several CPOs, including AmpUp. So we are able to reconfigure the chargers to point to AmpUp in that case. So are these charges approved on the NYSERDA equipment list? We are in the process of getting this charger set up on the NYSERDA equipment list and many other equipment lists and rebate structures throughout the country. So we're just starting that, but it will be there as soon as we can. When most are set up to 50 amp, why does your charger only go to 48 amps? 48 amps is a pretty standard. I'm not really sure what we're saying, what is set up to 50 amps, but 48 amps is a pretty standard level of charging. For the level two charge at 48, then usually go to 80 or 50 amp. There are 40 amp 40 amp chargers that are designed to work on a 50 amp circuit. These are 48 amp chargers that are designed to work on a 60 amp circuit. So essentially, the this is designed for 48 amps. And I don't know if I made the point. This will deliver 48 amps to the vehicle, but unlike a gas pump where when you put the gas pump into the car and squeeze the trigger, as much gas as possible flows out of that gas pump into the vehicle. When this charger or any charger gets plugged into an EV, the EV controls the charger. The charger doesn't deliver the 48 amps until the car asks for it. So in cold situations, the batteries can't take all 48 amps. And so the charger will be told by the car, they communicate with each other to choke back that energy till they warm up the batteries. And then when the charge session takes place, at some point, normally it will take all 48 amps. And then when the batteries get to about 80%, the current starts to drop down again because that last 20% usually takes a much longer time because the batteries are almost full and they really choke back the amount of current that they're able to take.
All right, Eric, I'll go ahead and take it back over if that's okay with you. Hi, everybody. This is Lynette. Thanks for going through all those questions and what a fabulous presentation, too. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and launch a couple poll questions, starting with question number one. You should see these come up on your screen. The first question is what is the operating temperature range of the new Phase EV? All right, I see many of you getting your answers in, which is great. And that's about as long as we give you. So if you're planning on participating, you got to be quick. If I recall, the correct answer is the last one, negative 40 to 50 C. All right. So you should see that one. So nice job. Question number two is, what is ISO 15118? Not sure that you guys are going to be able to answer this question. It doesn't look like it was maybe. Oh, you can. All right, good. I was worried that it wasn't going to be set up quite right. So what is ISO 15118? All right. Again, that's about as much time as I give. I'm going to end the poll. And I believe the correct answer, and tell me if I'm wrong, Eric, is a standard for relaying information between an EV and a charger.
That is correct.
Good deal. All right. All right. Next question is number three. What is this one? What are the three languages to which the Phase EV string can be set? Select all that apply. All right. And for this one, the correct answer would be Spanish, French, and English. Nice job. Question number four. In plug and charge mode, authorized RFID cards can be used to limit access. True or false? Okay, and the correct answer for that would be true. Good job. And the last and final question is question five. ChargeLab ChargePoint operator software is required in which use case below? Fleet management in a gated yard, plug and charge installations where no fee is collected, monitoring the use and operation of the charger online, or charging demo vehicles in a car dealership. All right. Also, I just want to end with saying that we do have some really amazing resources on our landing page. So you can find that by going to ledvanceus.com, then go to EV charger section. Obviously, we don't just have this brand new one, Generation 2. We also have the original Generation 1, and we also have residential chargers too. So don't forget to check those out too. We've got also a really nice rebate payback calculator that shows you where there's various rebates available for these as well. We want to thank you all for attending today. Please scan the QR code. You can get not only the survey, you can also take the quiz, and you can also get your certificate of completion too. Thank you all for attending today, and we wish you all a fabulous day. And thank you, Eric, for doing an amazing job.
Thank you all for joining.